Hey folks, it's me, it's Ross. A couple of weeks ago, Sarah and I were down in our living room, and my phone uh, beeped, whatever, made a noise uh, to let me know that somebody had sent a message. And it turned out it was a friend of Sarah's. Back in high school, they had a girl from a family in Sweden come and go to Bartlett Yancey High School with her. And it was this girl. She had found a picture or something that she wanted to share with Sarah, and Sarah's not on Facebook or anything, so she uses my account. And we had a messaging conversation back and forth with this girl for 5 minutes or so, and I was amazed that I was sitting in my living room in Gibsonville, North Carolina, and I was having a conversation back and forth with someone in Sweden. And we were just, as quickly as I would text something and send it, maybe 45 seconds later, an answer would come back. And it was just, I haven't grown up with this, but obviously we've lived in a digital age for quite some time now. But for some reason, every once in a while, something happens, and it just still boggles my mind how I can communicate with someone that quickly halfway around the world. I've been reading a book here about leading the church in a digital age. And I came across something here. It's something that says this guy is the chief legal officer at Microsoft. And he wrote this. He said, more and more, we find ourselves absorbed in electronic conversations with people we aren't physically with, something I've just recently experienced. Sometimes we're a world apart. Digital technology has made the world smaller and people more accessible, but it has also cast a deafening silence between people sitting right next to each other. Isn't that interesting? And it's true. How many times have you been sitting in a room with somebody and you've both been sitting there and you're just doing this, staring? Or I've been out with Sarah in restaurants, and we've looked over, and a mother and a father and two children are all sitting at the same table, and every one of them is staring at their phone. None of them talking, just staring at their phone. We're living in an interesting time. Now, I can't say that digital that technology is evil. And I want to say that technology has enabled amazing things in this world. It has enabled medical advances. It has enabled us to explore in space. It's done all kinds of positive things in this world, and I'm not immune. Just because I didn't have a cell phone growing up doesn't mean there wasn't a telephone in our house. And my sister and I lobbied hard to get an extra long cord. We pooled our money, and our parents said if we wanted to, we could go buy a 50-foot cord to plug into the phone so that we could take the phone out of our parents' room and drag it into our bedroom if we needed to or wanted to have a private conversation with someone, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, or whatever. And so in that way, we were isolating ourselves from the rest of the family. It's true. Um, Now, we did have time around the dinner table. And when our kids were coming up, we had a rule that no cell phones at the table. Um, I say all of this because we're living in this time right now where those of us who are leading churches and people in Sunday school classes, people doing all kinds of things, are trying to figure out how to balance the digital age and what some people are calling maybe the analog age. I feel like I'm more of a product of the analog age than the digital age. I'm still analog, I guess. I still want to see people face to face. How ironic that I'm sitting here staring at a camera on Facebook Live saying I want to look at people face to face. The irony is not lost on me. But uh, as we try to figure out how to do things like church, worship, Sunday school classes, learning music with choirs, whether they be adult choirs or children's choirs or handbell choirs or whatever. Can you imagine trying to do a handbell choir digitally? It just doesn't work well. Um, we are up to about, as we are having live worship at our church, um, we're at about 30% of our pre-pandemic live worship number. Um, People actually being there in person for worship. And I've talked to other United Methodist pastors of churches of similar size, and they're at about the same 30-40% maybe of pre-pandemic in-person worship numbers. A lot of people are still worshiping online. Unfortunately, right now we're not able to do that, renovating the sanctuary. But that'll come back, and we'll be back online again. Um, the conundrum, Facebook Live makes you put in a title on things like this, and I put the digital conundrum, questions about our relationship to the digital world. And I'm pondering this. I will tell you right up front, I don't have any answers. I wish I did. I could write books myself and make lots of money. But I don't have any answers, but questions that pop into my head. How do we as Christians relate to the digital world? How are we called to relate to one another as a worshiping congregation? And can we do that well when uh, we already were finding ourselves divided a bit, not just Front Street, but Christians in the broad sense. We already were finding ourselves divided a bit by ideology and theology. How much are we going to find ourselves divided by technology? People, for one reason or another, I'm not judging. Some people are still fearful. Some people are protecting themselves or their family or vulnerable people that they come into contact with, and I get that with the whole COVID thing. But my hope is at some point we're going to uh, get back to what in my mind is relatively normal. But are we going to have people who, because of this whole COVID thing uh, and the development of new habits, perhaps, um, are we going to find ourselves further divided by technology? People that we used to enjoy sitting beside in a worship service or talking with in the hallways at church or being in a Sunday school class or serving alongside in some mission project, we're not going to see them because part of the people are sitting in church at home in the building, and some people are participating in worship at home. Again, not judging one way or the other. It's just a conundrum that I can't quite figure out yet. How to deal with constructively and help us be all one body. Maybe you can send in some thoughts to me to help me along. Um, Doing this is the first time in my ministry and most people's ministry and trying to navigate these waters. How do we do things like have communion together as one body if part of our body is digital and part of our body is physically present in the worship service? How do we share in one another's joys and blessings and concerns and trials and tribulations in life when we're separated by physical distance? It's, again, questions I don't have the answer to. I wish I did, but things that I've been pondering. You get the flavor of what I'm pondering, and you may have had some of these questions yourself. Um, I commend them to you, the questions, and ask you to think about them and pray about them, because we are going to be doing this together, um, uh, for the foreseeable future, it seems. And they're interesting questions. They're real life questions. They're questions of substance, of how we live as people of God together, called to be in community together, but experiencing that community in different ways as we are confronted with our relationship with technology. So, again, I pray for you, and I pray that you would pray for me as we entertain these questions and feel our way through the darkness for a way forward. Hope you have a good day.